What is the biggest mistake people make when they try to stop drinking, when they're trying to change their relationship with alcohol? I'm going to go over that so you can avoid making it and talk you through what you need to do instead. If you don't know me, I'm Veronica Valley. I've been sober since May 2nd, 2000. I've written 3 books. I have a podcast, lots of different programs. I used to be a psychotherapist, and now I work as a sobriety coach for people all over the world. So hopefully this will help you. The biggest mistake that I see people make is they keep going from the next shiny object to the next shiny object to the next shiny object, thinking that that is the thing that will fix them. So they join different programs. They do, like, maybe go to the AA for a bit, and then they get disillusioned, or they go to Smart Recovery for a bit and then they get disillusioned, or they do a bit of therapy and that's kind of helpful. They feel a bit better, but then they stop doing all the things that the therapist told them to do. They're joining this online program, that online program. The reason I wrote my book is there's this whole genre called Quit Lit. You're probably aware of it. Lots of great books out there. This is my book. And what I saw with the Quit Lit genre was there was a lot of inspiration and identification, which is great. We need that. Inspiration is that just feeling of like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. That's me. Oh my gosh, I'm just like that. Oh, I'm just like this person. And they've been sober 2 years or 3 years or 10 years and their life just looks like it's going really well. That's inspiring when you are first trying to stop drinking, that, oh, possibly, I could get to a better place. Inspiration and identification, we need those things. Then I'd see people get really stuck because they'd stop drinking because they felt inspired and they identified with all these people that they saw online. But after a few months, they didn't have all of the great, amazing things that sobriety offers, that people like me on social media tell you can get. They didn't have those things, and they didn't understand why. The reason why is they do not have a consistent practice. They do not have the how. It's not enough to just stop drinking. You may have heard me say this many times. Sobriety is 10% not drinking alcohol and 90% emotional sobriety. The emotional sobriety bit is the bit that takes the work, and the work needs to be consistent. So I want you to imagine it's just like, this is how I'm going to describe it to you, right? It's just like doing yoga, right? If you do that and you do it intensively for a few months and you'll get better and more flexible and have all the benefits, then if you stop doing yoga, what will happen? You'll lose your flexibility and all the benefits. Mental and emotional health is exactly the same. And that's what you have to focus on. You have to focus on your mental and emotional health, because that is what will keep you sober. We have been using alcohol as a vehicle to manage our mental and emotional health. That's what happens when it becomes problematic, right? We start off drinking because it's fun. We continue drinking because we need it. And we need it because we've outsourced managing our emotions to alcohol. So what are we going to do when we don't have alcohol? We need something. And if we don't find something, our emotions will manage us, and we will just take the edge off with food or screens or whatever. So stop looking for the next shiny object and start focusing on simple things that you can do consistently, and I'll outline what they are. So the program that I developed, which is based on my work, okay? So I just want to emphasize, this isn't something I just thought was a good idea. I have thousands of clinical hours that were supervised by a more senior practitioner when I was a psychotherapist in the UK. And from that, I created the 5 pillars of sobriety. The 5 pillars of sobriety are movement, connection, balance, process, and growth. And if you want to know more about that, I have videos on it. It's all in the book. That would be a good place to start. But I want to just kind of strip it down to its basics. Number 1, focus on movement, which is simply moving your body. make sure that you are moving your body every day, and make sure that that is a practice, that that is something that you do, that you make time for. I'm sorry, everybody has time to do this. I don't care how busy you are, because we all have time to be sick. Movement, exercise is how we take care of so many different areas of our health, not just our physical health, but it really helps with our mental and emotional health. The other part of movement is not just exercise. It's about being conscious of what you want to move away from and what you want to move towards. So get your journal out and list 2 or 3 things you want to move away from. Obviously, alcohol. It could be anything. It could be like getting better sleep. I want to move towards getting better sleep. I want to move away from gossiping. I want to move away from wasting my time on screens. I want to move away from eating badly, etc., etc. I want to move towards health. I want to move towards more authentic connection, right? So list those things out, and then from there you can ask yourself, so what's the next step? If I want to do these, if I want to move towards this and move away from that, what steps do I need to take? We're training our brain to look for solutions, okay? The next pillar is balance. Balancing your needs according to your circumstances. Now, my breakthrough program, by the way, goes through all of this stuff. There should be a link below. The breakthrough program is about building emotional sobriety that's going to last for the rest of your life. And there's a module on balance and boundaries that is fundamental to staying sober. So you might just want to check that out. So balance your needs according to your circumstances. This is a lifelong practice because your circumstances are always going to change. And so it's a practice. It's an art that we won't always get right. But a lot of the reasons that we drink is because we're out of balance. And here's what happens when you get out of balance. I kind of like doing this. When you get out of balance, you feel uncomfortable in your own skin. I feel uncomfortable in my own skin when I'm out of balance. Not enough sleep, working too much, haven't seen friends, haven't connected with my kids, not eating right. All those things make me out of balance. Short term, we all have experiences short term where we're out of balance, right? Things happen. But medium and long term, we need to be in balance because we struggle otherwise. And when I struggle and when I feel uncomfortable, my brain looks for an outside fix. It looks for a way to just take the edge off, to numb those feelings, all of those kind of things. So balance is really, really important. Again, in depth, how to do that, it's in the breakthrough program. There's a whole worksheet you can print out that kind of talks you through everything. Because part of having balance, you need to have boundaries. And I live and die on that hill. Boundaries will change your life. In fact, that's what the module is called in the breakthrough program. Anyway, next one to focus on is connection. We need meaningful connection like we need air and water and food. We can't survive, and we certainly don't thrive if we don't have meaningful connection with people. And this doesn't happen overnight, right? It's not, when we're adults, it becomes harder to connect and make friends with people and all of that kind of stuff. It takes time, but we have to get started. Sober support groups are a good place to find connection. You don't have to pretend in a sober support group. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to pretend everything's fine and dandy. So look for local support groups in your area. Online is also extremely helpful. Lots of my clients have got sober in maybe rural or isolated areas, and the online connection has helped enormously. And I've had lots of my clients who've actually met online then meet in real life, which has been amazing. But one thing I know for sure about connection, you're going to have to work at it. It takes effort. We have to consistently show up and allow people to know us. Connection treats so many emotional conditions. And if you're, one of the defining characteristics of an alcohol problem for me is loneliness. That's what was killing me when I was drinking. I felt so lonely. I felt like I was behind a glass screen and everybody else was the other side, and they were all getting on with their lives and were fine. And I was like there, but alone. It's a horrible feeling. And I know if you've watched this video up until this point, you know what I'm talking about. Loneliness is the absolute worst experience. So we are going to have to work at building, repairing relationships, building new connections. I can't stress this enough. You won't do well without this. There's 3 levels of connection that we need. We need intimate connection, and that is somebody who knows our soul. Now, that's often our life partner, a romantic partner, but not always. It can be our best friend, a mentor, spiritual advisor, just somebody who truly, truly knows us. And that's going to be small, 1, 2, 3 people. We need friends that we can connect with who see us, and we need to be part of a wider community. And here's what's interesting. We need all 3 of those levels to be met in order to not feel lonely. Not just one of them. When I met my husband, I was living in England. He's American. We were living in England, and I had him, my partner, and I had really good friends, and I was a big part of the sober community. And then we moved to America, Illinois, and I lost 2 of those. I had my husband, but I didn't have any friends locally. I didn't know anyone, and I felt really, really lonely. And I had to put real effort into building up those relationships. So these things take time and effort, but they are really worth doing. All the research shows that loneliness will shorten your life. So we need to start with that. So those are the things that we need to do consistently. And what happens is, it's how we put weight on the sober end. So imagine that this is a seesaw, and this is alcohol. One end is drinking, and one end is sobriety. This is how sobriety works. Consistently putting weight on the sober end, consistently with all the things I've just described, eventually the weight takes over and sobriety embeds itself in the earth and alcohol flies off. So it's the consistency of the weight. Now, what a lot of you are doing when you're doing the next shiny object, you're sort of doing this. If you've ever been on a seesaw, right, when you kind of like jump on it and it kind of goes, whoop, whoop, right? It's just like you every so often you're just kind of going, whoop, whoop. And it's not, it's this that works. That's what you have to work towards. Now, there are other parts to this. Those are the things to work on to get going and keep going. The next part is process and growth of the 5 pillars, and that's the emotional sobriety part. Process is revealing yourself to yourself, really knowing and understanding yourself. And growth, if you're human, everybody experiences a call to growth. That's why you're here in front of me right now watching this, is something inside of you is calling you to grow beyond where you are now, beyond the drinking, beyond the behavior. There has to be more, right? So every time, we're always going to be called to grow. That's just part of being human. Like, we want to go beyond where we are now. That is a need that must be met. But what happens when we grow is we're always going to meet fear and resistance. Fear and resistance are going to show up. So we need the skills to navigate around the fear and resistance so that we can keep going. That bit's really important too. So just to recap, what is going to get you and keep you sober is not the next shiny object or person or thing. It's consistently developing a practice that puts weight on the sober end, and to keep going no matter what. No matter what, just keep going. And if you want to do that and you want my help with that, check out the Breakthrough program.